Hello, Tyler Bryden here. I hope everything's going well. I'm excitedly getting ready for Burning Man 2022, returning for the first time since 2019, which was my first time ever at Burning Man. So I come back with some experience, but that seems like a long time between. Can't wait for this to settle in what felt like this timeless place in 2019, and it both took forever and was gone in a snap. And so what I wanted to do today, just as I prepare for Burning Man and as our whole Camp Majestic, we're at 430 NH. Come say hi if you would like to. I would love to see you. I'd love to connect with people who I'm creating videos and they're somehow coming across this. Would be awesome. Really what I wanted to do was some intention setting for Burning Man 2022. And I do think that there is this important thing to go into, which is you need to have, and this is need is a tough word, it's a very authoritative word maybe, but it's like you need to have sort of like no expectations, because when you have expectations, that is when expectations aren't met, that is where suffering comes from. That's where pain comes from. And so while I am setting intentions, I'm also cognizant of this idea of going in with no expectations, living in the moment, being in the present, and enjoying and contributing as much as I can. And with that being said, through some of my own journey, some of my experience, some psychedelics, some just in life in general, I find that intention setting is an important part of the process. And even if things are maybe not going necessarily the way that you want to, it can be a scaffolding that allows you to return to that, allow you to prioritize time, make the decisions that you feel align with your purpose, with the vision that you have. And again, a lot of variables, a lot of things can pop up during this time, but I think that this is a helpful exercise, and I hope you find value from it. Really, this is a on video sort of meditation and intention setting that I'm excited about, and I hope that you are too. So let's first jump right in. I just got a couple notes I'll go through. If you know me, I'm Tyler. I can make things succinct, but generally I don't. So I will do my best to do this on that. So one of the other first points here, I just think is just reconnect with an incredible community. And I know that there were sort of some renegade burns that happened, and there's been local burns since the pandemic, but this is sort of the first full, sanctioned event in return to the desert since 2019, which again, it feels like an eternity. And I know the energy there is just going to be incredible, infectious, enthusiasm, I'm guessing it may be almost overwhelming for people who waited too long to go back. And I know that there's a lot of people who are now going for the first time, and I've been able to connect with them. And so I'm just connecting with that community. I learned so much during that time in 2019 that, and I want to learn more, and I want to meet more people. And I felt like I belonged there. I felt like there was this return to a place that I belonged and had been before. Had a lot of experiences of deja vu, and still sorting through if some of that was watching videos over time, dreams, and then also possible other effects of things. But overall, there's so many people that I met there, and people talk about the community being amazing and loving, but then also there being sort of like not negative side about it, but people who have been going to Burning Man for a long time and have seen it change. Maybe the culture of sort of bike stealing and things like that. All of that is beautiful. So just celebrating that, accepting that maybe things don't go perfectly along the way, but that this community is here, and it's such a deliberate, intentional, and just emphatic group of people who are making this happen. So really looking forward to that and setting some intentions there. I think one thing that I know is, since that time, the world has changed, the pandemic has happened, and I've found that it's been harder to connect with people in a way that I feel aligned with. And at Burning Man, first of all, I'm very happy to know that a couple friends are going outside of my camp, that and some of them are close to us at 430 NH, and that's really exciting. And I'm hoping I can build connections there that transcend outside of Burning Man. And I think it does naturally, but I'm hoping that there are people that I connect with regularly after this, and also have some geographic vicinity from. I'm just outside Toronto, that I can meet with again, because every time I see a burner, I meet with the burner, connect with the people I went with in 2019, the Camp Majestic crew, I feel loving embrace. And so I would love to see that continue outside of this temporary city that we get to, have the privilege to be a part of. And I think one of this, continuing with this, is just remember why I love this experience so much in 2019. One of the great it was a very transformative time in my life. I had a lot of, I would say, discouragement from people around me who had seen some trouble that I had gone through of going to Burning Man. And it felt like a really risky decision at the time. And in the end, it was probably one of the best decisions that I'd ever made. And I listened to my heart, I listened to my gut, listened to my soul. And because of that, I was rewarded with one of the most fruitful, memorable experiences of my life. And so to go back and just to remember why I love Burning Man so much, I think is a important part of this process. And I think that's very apparent, as I'm looking through photo memories or just looking at some of the art installations there or some of the lineups for people who are playing music. Like, there's so much goodness there. And I'm skipping ahead a little bit on one of mine, but it's to have a great time with my friend and coworker, Vatsal Shah. And Vatsal is a person I've worked with a long time. We've been through the ringer with the work that we've done at Speak AI, the software company that we've built together. And this is a very big jump out of his probably norm. Vatsal comes from India and is part of the sort of Jain religion. And with that, there's, as he sort of explained, this is not me sort of processing this. There is some sort of conservative aspects to this. And this is definitely, he's moving to what is a sort of beautiful, hedonistic, progressive, temporary experience. And he's going to see some things that he has not seen before, which I think are awesome. I think he thinks that's awesome. And I appreciate his open-mindedness to that. And so my goal is to be a good friend, a good guide, a good resource, and then also to help him, have the experience that he, not just, I think, hopes and wants, and knowing that that's a challenge there, but that he deserves as being the incredible person that he is. So very excited for that. I'm going to miss my good friend Sean, who I went with in Burning Man in 2019, and it honestly taught me so much about, I would say, survival, self-reliance. I'm going to miss him a lot, and I took lessons from him. And so also taking the lessons that I learned in 2019 and applying them back in 2022. Wow, so crazy to say that. What's amazing is that from 2019, that self-reliance principle that just is endowed throughout every experience at Burning Man has carried through to my everyday life and made me more resourceful. And, I feel like anytime I'm just going to the park or anything, I think of these crazy days and nights on Burning Man where you just pack up with a backpack and a water bottle and you have no idea what is going to happen. So that's sort of a piece that I'm excited is to sort of reconnect with that self-reliance as well too, and just generally connect with, I think, the 10 principles that are an important part of Burning Man. And so, here I've got the actual link. I've got a bunch of resources here that are the 10 principles of Burning Man. You can see them all, amazing ones. There's some that, all of them really connect with me, but one of my intentions is to learn these even more. Memorization seems very intense, but I think that would be a beautiful thing. Interpret them and then internalize them. A couple of the other pieces, ones that I think I've done a good job at are radical inclusion. I think that's a big part of my life. Radical self-expression, communal effort, leaving no trace is definitely one that I completely, love. And I've had so many amazing moments in 2019 around this, and I've continued that. And I think even gone beyond, with that leaving no trace, gone on beyond to if I go somewhere, try to even pick up extra garbage so that you're not even just leaving no trace, you're also contributing to making the place that you were at even cleaner than it was. And then immediacy, that has definitely been something I'm very proud to say that I've, done well and continue to try to excel at, but there are gaps in here. And I know one of the ways that I'm, so internalizing that and then also trying to figure out how better can I contribute, because it's my second time going. First time was very naive eyes, trying to figure out how to help. And I didn't necessarily get all the sort of structuring that I wanted to just because of everything going on. So my goal here is to help at Camp Majestic, at the camp, as much as possible, to just be an amazing resource, an amplifier of energy for people. And, we do obviously like sort of cocktail parties at Camp Majestic, 430 and but also fix bikes. So that is, I'm a not, sometimes not that handy of a person, yet I do love bikes and I know my way around them a bit. And so I'm hoping I can contribute in that way and make sure that I'm a valuable resource, not just to the camp, which is very important because they've done so much for me, but to the entire sort of Burning Man community. And so that's a big part of it. So a couple other things, I know I'm already at 10 minutes, so crazy, is to manage my energy properly to enjoy the entire experience. And I think I actually did a pretty good job of that in 2019. But there was a very quick start to it, which I would like to replicate again in some ways. But I think now knowing the experience a little bit, trying to pace a bit. And so for myself, hydration, sleep, food, limiting alcohol, definitely a huge driver of me and this overall goal more in life. So while I will participate in some ways, I will be less reliant on that and be managing energy so I can be that energy amplifier, be that resource, contribute, and make sure that I'm doing the best I can to be a valuable piece to this beautiful Burning Man puzzle that is. And there are moments that stick out to me where I think empathy needs to be fostered even more. Remembering a moment in 2019 where a man who was in a very tough state lost a bike and he was out in the middle of nowhere. And I just still sometimes flash back to that and think like he was so scared. And I just wonder how, we talked to him and tried to console him as best we could, but I just wonder what else could we have done? And so, I'm sure that he's okay. I know that he is, but I can feel it in my heart. But I just think that empathy and just going above and beyond to help, if you can, is something that I'd like to see. So a couple other things. I'm coming. I promise I'm at the end here. Almost cathartic dancing. Taking a little deep from the norm. I did not know how to dance in 2019. I never even really listened to EDM. I didn't know the differences and the nuances between it. Since then, I was lucky to be with some amazing DJs and just people who know music really well, and especially this techno and EDM and house and and what I learned was the differences between them, how that can be a part of your life. And since then, I've embedded myself in music, listening to help me induce flow states and all of this stuff. But I also learned how to dance a little better. And I remember a good friend at Burning Man sort of not criticized, but challenged me on my two-step, which was horrible. It still is, to be honest, but it's gotten much better. And I had also this sort of uncomfortable rigidity of being sort of this hockey player and consumed by that and fear and shame. That is gone. I have ridden that in the last few years. I will be dancing. I will be cathartically dancing. I will be self-expressing. And I hope that brings joy to other people too. And we all get to dance together. So that's another big one. Couple other last pieces. I mean, one big one. I think this is a big one for everyone. Not to generalize, but I think I can almost say this is to avoid law enforcement, getting in trouble with law enforcement. So there are a lot of great sort of tips on it. We've seen some of the group share some resources on it in our camp about consenting to search and not consenting to search, and just making sure that you're driving properly, obviously on the roads around Burning Man, but just also as you enter the playa, and driving slow and not getting in a rush to get in. And everyone wants to get there safe and happy and have the experience that they want. And so I don't know how I'm setting this specifically as an intention, but it's a goal to help make sure that happens. And there's a couple of resources here to ensure that it does for everyone involved. And I hope for you as well too, because we all, have waited a long time to go back to this. And I hope that we get the experience that we hope for. And to do that, we have to make sure that we're respecting law enforcement, respecting the entry and the journey. And I'm setting that intention right now, having gone through that experience in 2019. So a couple last things, I swear, is to just continue to build self-reliance and resilience. I've talked about that a bit. I've gotten better at that, but I think there's a lot more that I can do. And so I hope to be a little bit more handy and apply some. I bought a house last year and moved into it, and so I hope to be able to apply a little bit of some of the handy stuff that I've learned around the camp or helping other people. One thing that just stuck out to me as I looked at this symbol was I tried to get a tattoo of the Burning Man on the last day of last year, and they had just packed up all the tattoo stuff. And so I don't know if this is my intention yet, but I would love to get the little tattoo, and I wanted to get it right sort of on my wrist, so that when I looked down, I remembered that, there is this other world out there. There is this other reality of playfulness, of good, of energy, of timelessness, of just, a complete, difference from sometimes the world that we live in. A couple other, again, I've said this a couple times, so is to be, again, a resource for people who experience or need help in any way, whether it's holding space, whether it's dancing, whether it's giving them water. And I remember these amazing experiences in 2019 where I would be, thirsty and someone would pass me a drink, and then someone else was hungry and I'd pass them a protein bar or whatever that was. And that's some of the beauty, the synchronicity that comes at Burning Man. And I will hope to continue that. And I think last piece I have here, and because unless anything else sort of explodes to me at the end, is just to connect the people specifically who are contributing to the psychedelic sort of movement. And I know that's sort of a weird term. I have challenges with it, but generally there's, Rick Doblin, there's MAPS, there's some amazing people that I've connected with throughout the years who, whether through nonprofits or public benefit corporations or even private companies or public companies, are trying to help further sort of the progress, decrease stigma, and make sure that this becomes sort of a, democratized, accessible way to heal and grow and understand and learn. And I believe in that through my own experiences. That's a valuable part of of my life. And I think if used properly and done properly, can be a valuable part of others. And so I hope that I can connect with people who are a part of that, learn from them. 2019 was a huge, accelerator of that, an accelerator of understanding, an accelerator of connections. I met some amazing people there, and I want to see that happen again and continue, and then reconnect, and then figure out how can I continue to contribute. So that's one of the last parts. I think that's good. I'm at 16 minutes of intention setting, and I hope that this was maybe helpful for you if you're interested in this. I know this has been helpful for me to talk through and sort of solidify some of the things that I'm thinking about. Again, Camp Majestic, 4:30 and H. Send me a message if you're interested. We'd love to connect, and if you can find, website or whatever, send me an email, send me a text, and figure out. I know that's a hard thing. We all say this. We're going to connect at Burning Man, but at least if we know where the camp is, and at least maybe have some way to communicate or figure it out as we get closer to the date, that we make these connections that are meant to be possible. So this has been Tyler Bryden. I hope you like this video. I really hope that I'm also, just as a final note, doing my best to, I feel weird sort of talking about Burning Man sort of publicly, and obviously it's on YouTube and sort of social media. I really hope that I, coming off with the right sort of intent. I really am here to just try to be, learn from my experience and share with others and connect with others who are going. And, I'm only on my second time, so I don't think I'm much of an expert or veteran or even maybe a resource, but I'm just trying to do my best to be me and, contribute in my own way. And this is, I guess, some way that I know how, and I'm doing my best to do that. So would love to hear from you. This has been Tyler Bryden talking about Burning Man 2022 and doing some intention setting for what looks to be just an amazing, magical time ahead. Thank you so much for checking this out. Bye-bye.